Wake up, Billies. Wake up, Billies. Wake up, Billies. Wake up, Billies.
Wake up, Billies, wake up, Billies. Another day is here. Wake up, Billies, wake up, Billies. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Billies, wake up, Billies. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Billies, wake up, Billies. Voice our opinion and place your calling, WB. Be yourself, see yourself, this is a show my people. Billies our hope, so to needless reason. Nobody feel left out, is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution, yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes, WB. And all the things that must happen under God blue skies. And nothing make people get victimized. Let's work together for better, we got to unite. Billies, yeah. Wake up, Billies, wake up, Billies. Another day is here. Wake up, Billies, wake up, Billies. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Billies, wake up, Billies. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Billies, wake up, Billies. Voice our opinion and place your calling, WB. Get up, make every day count. Don't waste it, people. Do your part, play a role, get where you need to. You can tune in for work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait? It's a time calling. It's a show with no matter even if you're at home. Just call in, WB. Wake up, Billies, wake up, Billies. Another day is here. Wake up, Billies, wake up, Billies. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Billies, wake up, Billies. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Billies, wake up, Billies. Voice our opinion and place your calling, WB. Be yourself, see yourself, this is a show, my people. Billies our hope, so to needless reason. Nobody feel left out, is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution, yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes, WB. And all the things that must happen under God blue skies. And nothing make people get victimized. Let's work together for better, we got to unite. Billies, yeah. Wake up, Billies, wake up, Billies. Another day is here. Wake up, Billies, wake up, Billies. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Billies, wake up, Billies. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Billies, wake up, Billies. Voice our opinion and place your calling, WB.
Good morning, excuse me, good morning, Belize. Welcome to the WUB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. It's Tuesday morning and it's the 25th of August 2026. I'm your host this morning, Mose Hyde, on full duty. And of course, we glad when you start your day here. We are so appreciative and honored by just the very fact that you got on your radio listening to Creme, or you've got your TV on XTV, or you've got us on your apps, on your device, or social media streams, or to those via simulcast coverage. We love it. And we know that you could do other things, you could be other places, but the yayo there, zinc it up, rate it. Yeah, we got to hope that this morning you've got great health, as always. Your energy levels high, vibrations positive, very important. And of course, we want your morning have enough space for we. That's so important because we don't only want you to spectate. We want you to get in, engage, jump in. It's an active event. It's not a presentation. It's a conversation. Get that in your head. Tuesday morning, make we do this. We've got your warm-ups here, a bit of morning news. But before we do that, we find out how today I feel. Yeah, how today I feel. Warm, cool, rainy, dry. What? You know we don't have that. We turn to the National Meteorological Service to line it up for us, courtesy of forecaster on duty, Crystal Rosales.
Good morning. A moderate and somewhat moist east to northeasterly airflow prevails over the country. And in the 24-hour forecast, skies will be sunny with some cloudy spells today and then cloudy at times tonight. A few showers and thunderstorms will affect mainly the south this morning and tonight, and then otherwise activity will be generally isolated. High temperatures for today will reach around 89 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 95 inland, then 82 up in the hills. Low temperatures for tonight will reach around 82 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 72 inland, then 68 in the mountains. Winds over the open sea will be from the east to northeast at 5 to 15 knots, with sea conditions being slight to light chop, with high tides occurring around 7:52 this morning and at 9:12 tonight. Low tides at 3:23 this afternoon, then at 2:20 tomorrow morning. The sun will set at 6:11 this evening and rise at 5:37 tomorrow morning, while moonrise is at 4:43 this evening and moonset at 4:12 tomorrow morning. And now for the extended forecast. Skies will be cloudy at times, with a few showers and thunderstorms expected mainly over southern and central areas on Wednesday, then mostly over the south on Wednesday night. Elsewhere, activity will be isolated. And finally for the tropical weather outlook. Shower activity associated with an area of low pressure a few hundred miles east-northeast of Bermuda remains disorganized with a broad and elongated circulation. This system currently has a medium chance of becoming a short-lived tropical cyclone later today before it moves over cooler waters tonight and Wednesday. Then there was an area of low pressure centered a few hundred miles south-southeast of the Cabo Verde Islands, which is producing disorganized showers and thunderstorms. This system could become a tropical depression during the next few days while it moves westward to west-northwestward across the eastern and central tropical Atlantic. Please note that neither of these systems poses any threat to Belize. And this has been this morning's weather report from the National Meteorological Service.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989. Creme FM presents the news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news.
And now morning news. Belize Electricity Limited Chairman Lin Yong and Minister of Public Utilities Michelle Shabat, along with his CEO, yesterday morning held a press conference in Belize City to address the mounting complaints by customers of increasingly high electricity bills. At the company level, Young shared external factors that contribute to high energy costs.
I want to go directly to the big issue, right, which is the high bills and the cost of power. And I want to say, to start with, that we understand we're in a period right now where there's a lot of inflationary pressures. All of us are seeing it in the grocery stores, the bus fares, the taxi fares, the the plane fares. And I think we all know that it's been driven by the price of oil primarily, but also the issues that's happening internationally. A lot of it is beyond our control. The war in Ukraine, the war in Iran, how it's affecting the logistics, shipping, just the cost of getting goods. It's higher, and of course, it takes longer to get equipment and to get stuff, right? So we understand, and BL and the government, of course, I just joined this year, but over the last couple of years has done its best not to have to increase electricity rates, to the point where the company absorbed almost $90 million in excess costs. Lost like $6 million in 2025, recorded a loss of $23 million last year, and we're headed to a loss of probably about $15 million this year. So obviously, nobody could have predicted what happened internationally, and nobody expected it would last this long. But even so, from time to time, CFE itself has had some issues. I think we all see it in the news, and there are times when CFE cannot supply us. When they cannot supply us, we have to bring on the gas turbines. We have to run the gas turbines with diesel, and then we get really hit with the cost of fuel. The price of diesel for BL, which is duty-free, has almost doubled over the last few months.
Next, Young outlined what factors contribute at the individual household level.
If you look at your bill and you look at it over the course of a year, you will see it happens every year. Around May, June, July, the consumption increases significantly. It increases because when the dry season kicks in and the heat kicks in, a lot of electrical equipment burn more electricity, significantly more. Refrigerators, it's a heat pump basically. It's pumping hot air out to get the air in the refrigerator cool. Same with air conditioning. When the outside temperature is hot, then it's trying to pump hot air into hot air, and it's bringing in hot air that's trying to cool. So what happens is that your electricity, your ACs and your refrigerators, they burn far more electricity when it's hot. But not only those, there are other equipment also that burns more electricity when it's hot. So a lot of us, including myself, we're not at home, but we find our bills are going up. But things like the fans in a computer, in a router, all these equipment, when the outside temperature is hot, they have little internal fans that just kick in to try to keep the equipment cool. A lot of electrical equipment does that. Electric motors, the resistance in these motors get higher when the ambient temperature is hot, and so they burn more electricity. So things like pumps, etc. Then we ourselves, in hot weather, we tend to use more water. Your pumps start running more. So it kind of accelerates on itself, the hotter it gets. And the temperatures have been hot. This year was really, really hot. So just to give an example, normally around April, June, we get a lot of high bill complaints. This is one of the years we've had the highest number of high bill complaints. And so we are trying to address it directly to say, well, yes, we understand that. There's another.
Lastly, Young spoke of the introduction of the new smart meters. Out of the 117,000 customers BEL has, only 45,000 households have received the new meter, including all customers in Belize City.
The company is implementing a system of putting in electronic meters, which are far more accurate. The electronic meters are accurate between 1.5% plus or minus, whereas the old meters have an accuracy of between 3 and plus 3%. So they're more accurate to start with. If anybody understands electrical equipment will know that things like meters, if they're old and are going bad, they may actually not be, they might be under recording more than over recording. The way it's set up, they have these coils, etc. in them that if it's malfunctioning, it's more likely that it will not be reading accurately than be reading more. So when we change an old meter for a new meter, we realize, yes, some people might be getting a more accurate reading. But what also happens, I think, well, we've investigated and we've found a lot of instances where, for whatever reason, the meter readers cannot access someone's meter and they do an estimate. And if they've been doing an estimate for a few months, And when we go and we change that old meter to a new meter, which we can read directly electronically, then there's a bit of a bump, a sort of catch-up on the readings that was taking place. So we found that we've had some complaints with respect to the new meters, but every one we look at, we found those kind of situations. There is actually two, I hate to say it, but if a meter is not working properly for various reasons, and I'm not accusing anybody of tampering, but we found a few where the meters were not some way the meter wasn't reading properly. When you put in a new meter, then you start get the accurate reading. That is happening. I think over time that will go away as we change all the new meters and people are able to see their accurate consumption and manage it better.
For those who have difficulty paying those high bills, Young said there are payment plans.
Within BL, we do a lot of payment plans. So when somebody has, and it's not only the heat, but like I said, sometimes people have equipment that malfunction and pushes up their bills, and they would call us and we set up a payment plan where they pay for it over a few months.
The suggestion of the removal or reduction of GST on electricity bills does not appear to be a feasible one. Belize Electricity Limited has 177,000 customers, and according to Public Utilities Minister Michelle Shabat, if the 12.5% tax is reduced or removed, the government would have to find other ways to replace that lost income. He noted that Cabinet already agreed that the cost of power adjustment copper will not be taxed, but any broader GST adjustment would require careful consideration.
You know, in relation to the copper aspect, Cabinet has decided that GST will not be applicable on that. Whether or not there's going to be any consideration for the overall electricity bill is something that we will have to discuss. And as you know, any decrease in GST will require us to see where there's it from, because it would mean that some other project will not be financed. But I think it is a legitimate question, and I think it is something we're having its consideration.
At Monday's BEL press conference, we asked BEL Chairman Lin Young what an investigation actually looks like when a customer files a complaint with the company. Public Utilities CEO Dr. Leroy Almendarez, who is a former employee of the Public Utilities Commission, also outlined the procedures the regulator follows when a BEL customer takes a complaint to them.
We have equipment that we can analyze usage, and so some of the things that we do is, if we would put an analyzer, it's called, right, on the person's meter on their thing, and it would analyze it. We found instances where there's been malfunction in equipment in people's homes, and then we can give them advice as to what is causing it. So we found the investigation has done that. We look over their history. We look to see if there were some areas that they didn't realize. Those are the kind of things we do. But for sure, we have these analyzers that we can put in the system on your house, and it analyzes the power consumption over the course of a period. And if there's nobody at home and you see a spike, then you know there's some equipment in there that's malfunctioning. And a lot of times we are able to find what equipment is malfunctioning, and we show the customer, and they're able to address it.
So the PUC aspect of it. As a former employee of PUC, basically it's similar to what the chairman said. If you get resolution there, they will basically try to see if you find the consistency. But you can log a complaint at PUC, and they put it on their website as well. They do their own investigation. Let us say a bill was this one for 25, and then so incrementally as exponentially, as Marisol said. Next month it's $1,000 or whatever. I think the same thing with all utilities. You have leakage and things like that. And so they would then try to identify that for you. PUC has a consumer affairs office, and they will respond to you, but they will do their own investigation and see if it reconciles with what the BL said.
The Belize Bus Association says Transport Minister Dr. Louis Abane yesterday requested another week to prepare the cabinet paper addressing the elevated cost of diesel and the sustainability of bus operations. In a press release, the BBA confirmed that its members agreed to make an additional sacrifice to continue providing bus services today, and so the previously announced possible discontinuation of services will not proceed at this time. The BBA noted that it had formally requested an extension of the 3-month fuel subsidy on July 15th, ahead of the expiration. The association said it hopes Cabinet will treat the matter with urgency once the paper is tabled and that a definitive, workable solution will be reached. The BBA thanked commuters and the general public for their patience and understanding. The National Trade Union Congress of Belize yesterday formalized the demands of the Prime Minister made at its August 18th press conference. The NTUCB explained that the demands arose from the loss of public and worker confidence in the leadership of Belize Telemedia Limited, which presented and pushed for the acquisition of SpeedNet. The demand for the resignation of BTL Chairman Markham Lizaraga and 3 directors of the board is with immediate effect. Also with immediate effect, the Congress is asking for a union liaison to be appointed in the Prime Minister's office. In the case of its demand that the Civil Asset Recovery and Explained Wealth Act be enacted, the NTUCB has reduced that timeline from 90 days to 30 days. The bill was passed in Parliament in 2023. Additionally, the 90-day timeline applies to the filing of the vacant post of Ombudsman. The NTUCB also supports the PSU's demand that the Revenue Authority bill be sent back to committee to allow for genuine, transparent consultation with all stakeholders and social partners. The Congress says this should be immediate. Specific to the BNTU, the Congress is formalizing requests for July and 3 weeks in August to be a dedicated vacation period for primary, secondary, and biotech teachers. Teachers are also demanding a resource allowance for the 2027-2028 school year. A timeline of 60 days and 45 days is given for the repayment of salaries for teachers placed on interdiction and teachers who worked with an expired license and were mandated to return their salary. The NTUCB has asked for a response within 4 days. It added that the demands are reasonable and are endorsed by the Belizean people through their representative in the joint social partners. That ends our morning news update. We'll take a break. When we come back on the other side, we will be open for conversation. That's our main duty. Right here on Creme Radio and XTV. We'll be right back.
Informative, accurate, current information. Crem's newscast. Local, regional, and international news. Weather and sports.
Smart for everybody. Smart leading everything. Smart give you everything. Smart offer everything. Smart give you everything. North to the east and the south and the west. Smart are the best. Darling, double up my data and give me all the text. In fact, give me a plan for my family. Unlimited calls so me like it. And Smart make everybody feel happy. Bringing people together, me want it now. Smart got love for everybody. Me want my Smart plan. Want it right now. Me want my Smart plan. Want it right now. More bundles, data plan. Me want my smartphone, internet in my hand. Call me want my Smart plan. Want it right now. Smart. Stay connected. Stay happy.
At Atlantic Bank, your convenience is our priority. Our contact center is designed to enhance your banking experience. With a wide range of customer service options, you save time and effort. You can easily call in to block or unblock your debit and credit cards, perform account inquiries, and access detailed card information. Whether you need assistance with online banking, merchant support, or general inquiries, our team is ready to help. For added convenience, if all operators are busy, you can leave your number and an operator will return your call as soon as possible to ensure you receive the support you need. Depending on your transaction type, we may need to verify your identity through a set of security questions. And remember, Atlantic Bank will never request your username or password for Atlantic Online via phone call, text, or email, ensuring your personal information remains safe and secure. Our support team is available Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. in both English and Spanish. Simply dial 223-1212. This is a dedicated line for our contact center. Atlantic Bank is committed to providing you with exceptional service and the tools you need to manage your finances conveniently and securely. Take full advantage of our easy-to-use contact center services today.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
Amandala is now online. You can now access Amandala's midweek and weekend issues online by logging on to our website at amandala.com.bz/news and joining our membership portal today. There's 5 easy steps to get unlimited access to weekly e-paper, archive publications, and a host of other exclusive contents. Number 1, go to Amandala's website. Number 2, navigate to subscribed areas. Number 3, choose a membership level. Number 4, check out using our secured portal. Number 5, log into the members only section. Telephone numbers 501-280-4703 or 202-4477. Fax us at 501-222-4702, or you could email at amandalapress@yahoo.com or amandalapress@gmail.com. Amandala, all power to the people.
Back to WUB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes on this Tuesday morning, 25th of August 2026. Mose Hyde hosting today, and that means I'm just conducting the orchestra. You guys are playing the music. Just by giving us a call, we can engage. Remember, this is a conversation, not a presentation. I don't have a presentation. Of course, in the absence of your calling in, I have to run my mouth a little bit more than I would like to, but we know that that's not going to happen. You've got the number. If you don't, it's 280-5848. That is the direct line for you to participate in the conversation. We want to hear from you. So yesterday, the people in charge of BL, from the highest level, the political directorate, to its management and administration, made themselves available to the media to be questioned and to make presentations as to, well, why people experience some light bills where they hit their hard in their stomach. People are experiencing a jump in on a light bill and they are complaining. Now, the Mr. Lin Young, the CEO, where we had the CEO, Mr. Alman Daris, the Minister Shebat, all there to give assurances that while a higher than usual light bill is not you know, anything anybody wants. That is just a fact of life. It's hotter than usual. It's hotter. When it's hotter, you pay more. You know, nothing out of the usual with them. Your fan, your AC, and you need to do better when you come to, and you know, your understanding how these things happen. But we have a call. Krem, good morning, WB.
Yes, man, I call me Mr. White. I just want to pick up the Dion Pussy Flower there. They got nice and you they come up and back at your nobody no come up and no other hood. Nobody bring no team, but all the youth play against one another. The youth 14, youth 16, and youth 10. And then elders they come out and play against the youth. And they have a beautiful day. A lot of food me the other week. We then youth they eat for like 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock the evening. We be there in our corner when the church starts. Afterwards, we have in our corner there, so. And we are there till about 11:15 at night. We are all there old school man, you take some man for here, back at the world. And man, I mean, a wonderful day, they gone nice, they gone, like you would feel good, they that son happen there, they can. Nothing on the hand back at the world for since you they gone. They things out of hand right now, the back there, but thank God the day gone good, and big up everybody will come out and want big up all the sponsors, the Padraka, everybody will make it happen. Love, respect, Padraka, big up the friends to see you here.
Yeah, I think having one day is great, and I'm happy to hear that it went well.
Yes, sir.
But, you know, ultimately, the point that you are making is an extremely important one.
And we never have no police security. No police security. The police they circle around and around, but no police never come hang you in the field. But everything go right back as we fall. We have food and drinks all day. So thank God,
so for those
never gone bad.
So for those who don't know Dion Flowers, who every year when someone would come, he would actually come on the WB to solicit support for his summer camp.
We always see the man up there up on the show, and I always lucky if we catch the man go on today.
All right.
That thing they really mentioned where that summer program, but if somebody have to find a way to pick up that torch for that, man, if that man summer camp no have maybe things like it out and we get a hand back at all, let that thing done out and
well, maybe that you have to take up the mantle, Brother White. Maybe that you. Why not
yes,
you?
I could do it, Maduaka, and I can, but I didn't. A man don't have shopping.
All right, you kind of run lower on credits, I think. But anyway, you know, it's we don't know. They say you don't know the use of the well to the water and dry. You know, obviously, it was and I feel like deja vu hit me because I think we've had the same conversation before about, you know, year to year, the late Dion Flowers, who was an outstanding football talent in his own right, in his prime, had tremendous speed. I mean, blessed with just that was his gift. But he passed unexpectedly, and ultimately, after his football career had finished, he was doing a lot of work, and his loss is being felt for sure. But we have a call. Krem, good morning, WB.
Yeah, morning, Mose.
Yeah, man, morning.
I like that phrase where I say I never miss the water till the well run dry, but right now I wouldn't miss the water out of the pool pipe, go on the streets and the bedroom. Last week we talk about malaria and dengue, but then nobody need for help. Look out for the pool. Either they open it or they close it, full it up and get somebody land or something, man. That's full of water right now as I see.
Oh, so that's a mansion for mosquitoes. They've created a
definitely.
Okay, a mosquito heaven. All right. I'm glad you raised the issue. We are try to keep a spotlight on it and make sure that you're absolutely right. Like you cannot tell the residents at the community that they need to do their part to fight dengue, while you have a public asset like that. You know, that's
so that they right back around police station. They say they may use it. They say they may bring it up.
Yeah. They have to do something about it, and legit, if you ask me,
like nobody recognize that thing full of water and mosquito bridging.
They must recognize, but they don't really care. You know, so it kind of contradict your messaging when you tell people to be conscious of, you know, tires in your yard and all of that. But you
must look into that.
Yeah. Give thanks, bro. Number 2805848. So, yeah, man. Respect to the day that they had for Dion Pussy Flowers. Salute. Obviously, everybody is conscious now that the bro is doing legitimate work, important work, and you know, we see some things that happen with the youth in the area there, and we know that, you know, you realize the vacuum. So we have to step up and fill the vacuum for sure. But give thanks to the organizers. Salute yourself, Mr. White, and thanks to give you the update. Started out the show just kind of looking, BL big wigs come forward. Obviously, the political directorate, the Bicentennial administration is conscious that people are not happy a bit. And so we are told that, well, the smart meters is now responsible, the COPA adjustment, price adjustment mechanism is not responsible. That is a hat. And we use fan and we use AC. Listen, over the years, when it comes to any bill, bills are unpleasant things, and nobody likes them. And generally, when people get a bill, it's never a moment of ecstasy. There's no joy when you get your bill. You know, you have to go pay your bill. You need your light, you need your water, you need your data, whatever. You go pay your bill as best you can. But the one of life's true unpleasant reality is that there are the things where you have to get up and work, and you have to grind to make sure you could defend, right? So people generally are negative to it, negative feeling, well, man, that's why we have to pay so much to bills. And people have been paying these bills for years. So people are familiar with when they pay over a period of time. So when people all of a sudden say something wrong with my bill, it is not imaginary to them, to us. It is not just people that cry wolf or people just want to complain. Something happened where all of a sudden they're out of whack. Something out of the ordinary. Yes, bills are, electricity bills are, you know, necessary things you have to pay, and they're never pleasant, all of that. And when people generally know that you're going to have fluctuation, they know, you know, the months of the summer, they know, oh man, the thing kind of go up. You have your norm. People have their norm. So when people say, oh, what the hell is this? You can't just say, oh, there's nothing going on. That no go down that way. Krem, good morning, WB.
Good morning, Brother Mose.
Good morning, brother.
Brother Mose, this one is for the record. And I have never taken a office prior. But given the financial and social condition, I'm speaking for everybody, but for Afro-Belizeans in particular. This morning, I want a bonfire on Juwe. I want a bonfire on Carnival. I want to burn fire on those poor mothers.
You're the broke up, bro.
Oh man, I always about now. Is it much better now?
Go on. I mean, it's
okay. Yes. So I'll repeat myself. I want to burn fire on Juwe. I want to burn fire on Carnival.
Okay.
I am calling on the black families in particular to boycott these poor people party that is leading down to more destruction and poverty. When Carnival, majority of the people out there jigging up is black people, poor black people. Right now, the poverty is rampant in this country. So I am calling on black people, boycott it. You don't go out there pretending that everything is okay. You're going to spend your last dime, and then after Carnival, after Juve, you go back home and you don't have a packed bread to feed your children. So you need to wake up, black mother, black father, black kids, wake up. Do not participate in these poverty pleasure scenario that is causing more poverty to you. You need to show the powers that be that you are not pleased with your poverty level. So Juve is just a quick fix. Carnival is just a quick fix for you to forget your problems, and then you reverse back to poverty when you get home in the ghetto. This is the first time I've spoken out on this margin. Given the fact, Brother Mose and Believe, our people is in dire poverty, poor, nothing, no money, no nothing, hand to mouth. 2026, the year of our Lord, it's a crying shame in a country of 400,000 people with billions and billions and billions of dollars in resources, and our people have to live like this. And they are disguising themselves due to ignorance. Not that our people don't want to help themselves, not that they don't feel the pain, but there is nobody to speak for them. There is nobody to guide them. There is nobody to show them, hey, this is the way. You and I and others have been trying, Brother Moses. We're going to continue trying. But this time, I'm taking, before Juve, before Carnival, having it for the record. Asians, wake up, stand up, and sit up. That you are not going to be used any longer as an object of ridicule when everybody else, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Mennonites, the Arabs, the Turks, the Indians, everybody have it. You don't have it, and you going out there like a clown. No, you got to stop. You got to stand up and say, enough is enough. Thank you so much, Brother Mose. I'm going to continue to listen to you off the air.
All right, sir. Yeah. The year we get to this point where the carnival season, and not just the carnival season, I think throughout the year when there are concerts and people see people attending concerts and they say, you know, why are you attending concerts? That's not good, that's not wholesome, it's not financially wise, you're spending what you don't have, it's a one day feel good for a long time feel bad. And then you finish from the concerts, you don't have money for your utility bills, your school fees are upon you, and so there's all this conversation that goes on. And so yesterday we had Brother Collimo come very strong against the Carnival and the Juve, and I don't know that the Juve is an expense. The Carnival, I believe, participating in it is at least at the level of the senior bands. It requires financial commitment. Yeah. So I hear you, Brother Robinson. You are opposed to people participating in those events. I was speaking about the BEL press conference yesterday and the fact that people are presently, a good number of people have reached out on social media primarily. We've not had any barrage of people calling in about their light bills, but on social media, there's last week a lot of people posting what they paid usually and what they're paying now, and are outraged by what they're experiencing. And so BEL had its press conference yesterday, and I should say not just BEL, we had the Minister of Public Utilities, and we had a technical breakdown presentation by the chair, Lin Young, and so all that went down and they faced the media, which is not, you would say, the in fashion thing in 2026 for the big heads and the big wigs to make themselves available for a press conference. Press conferences have now become very rare things, and so we have to at least, I guess, at the very minimum, say, well, respect for come forward and present for a story and for no understanding of things. I think one of the huge problems when we find ourselves in these spots is that there is a trust deficit. And we have a trust deficit, and yeah, should be told, what percentage of the consumer base of BEL understands the way that BEL is regulated, its price, how they come upon the pricing, where majority of we understand all the technical components of energy production and costs and all of that. So you can get up and you can say a lot of things, you know. People are not students of the cost of power. They are just in a position where they know that that's one of the things we all need to have, and they have to figure out how to pay, right? That is the situation that people find themselves in. And unlike when you go to a store, you see an item and you say how much for potato, and they say potato whatever $3 per pound, and they take the potato and they put it on a scale, and you could say, oh, that 3 pound, okay, I want to take 3 pound at $9. Very simple transaction and open transaction. The way that we are taxed for, or the way we are charged for electricity, is that there is a box where we call the meter, and it's put there, and that just want to run, and whatever they go on with that meter that we don't know, but we know that know a lot that we go and check with meter ourselves, and that meter they govern where one count away in the bill, and that's how it is. So we have to trust that your meter is right. We have to trust that your meter they work, and we have to trust that you do the right thing when you charge me. It's a lot of trust, and it is a process that is not fully open and naked, like when you go and just go buy it at the market, right? It's still a consumer-producer relationship, but at the end of the day, it's different because of the way that you end up being charged. So there is a requirement for consumers to feel confident that when they get one bill, that the bill is right. So when you make any change to the components of that mechanism, it is a very delicate thing, because everything is so reliant, so much of it relies on trust, right? And therein lies the problem. And we have to go, whenever you are not in control, right? There's a certain blind element to this. We have new smart. I remember when the conversation came up about the new smart meters, immediately people were apprehensive. Immediately, new meter, so something wrong with the whole kind of the whole meters them don't see. I know this one smart. So then we are told, well, in the press conference we are told, you know, the old meters were not as efficient. So they were not as efficient, but it was not, the lack of efficiency was a detriment to the provider or the seller and not to the consumer or the buyer. So the meters were on our side in their inefficiency, or what it is, they were, the lack of optimal performance of the meter was in our favor, and it was to a detriment to the company. So putting in these smart meters now, they want your call now and they can correct the wrong. So that is one of the components of our reality. And we have to just accept that, because who amongst the consumers may do any analysis of the old meters? There's no group, there's no representative, there is no independent, there is no referee that says, okay, make I look on a meter for myself to decide that. No, it is the seller, the provider, the producer who puts the meter, who has done their own assessment of the meter, have determined that the meter is never good enough, never made it perform well enough, or never optimal enough to ensure that we never made the benefit from electricity that was not being registered by that meter. So we get a meter where apparently is optimally sensitive to make sure that there is not this waste. But again, all of that is being determined by the seller. It is it's like ultimately when you go to the market and somebody, you don't carry your own scale, right? The person skills could be off a bit. We think when they did a 3 pound, that must be legitimately 3 pounds. There's no guarantee of that. Skills can be faulty. But ultimately, it's a simple enough mechanism, and you say, we agree to this, and I could see the tree and explain to me, and I know what I'm paying for. So the whole element of trust is such an important component, so that when you can't tell me anything in our press conference, we have to say, the people have to have trust that you say things were fair and true, and and just put up a story where in your interest. Otherwise, then people want to look upon it like Bill and say, oh no, the wrong way. Because we don't know nothing about the old meters compared to the new meter. We don't see we're smart. We don't know none of that. So this kind of, and then I think I just pointed out that we've heard these explanations before. Okay, when you get hot, you pay more. You use this, you use that. And indeed, from time to time, there are commercials where play. If it's say, sometimes you have one thing plug in, you might not be using it, but it's using. Make I remember, one time, a frequent caller, Mr. Michael Reyes, Sir Michael Reyes, who used to call the talk show and would give us, free advice on tips on things you do and understanding how you protect yourself from, not paying more than you should. But generally speaking, as consumers, we are at a disadvantage because we don't know as much as the people who are providing us, and we don't have the control. So we are, in a way, at their mercy. And they can come and tell us anything. And it might sound pretty, but doesn't mean that there is not something that is not. So now we have to look and find who can we speak to in this environment that is going to break it down and give us that understanding. And who is there to look at a meter and say, well, we know that when it performs, since we now know that meters are not essentially handed to us from God, so that they are not perfect. Now we know that, right? We were not conscious of the fact when we had the quote-unquote Duncy meters that, hey, then thing could be off. It was always told, well, the meter is your gospel truth. Where he said, the way he said, the number where he give, that the number where he give, and we never know that it was 3% off. 3% is a lot. It is 3% off, but we was to our benefit. Apparently, there's no way for it to be off the other way, right? The only way these meters were off was one way. Now we got these super performing meters, and they want to sharper, smarter, and they're the one we really come from God now. But there is no way for us to know. We were never told that the old ones, when those were the only things we had, we were never told that those could be off. So again, you have the problem of trust. But the problem of trust would be go beyond that. Because the truth be told, we as a public were not really and truly kept abreast that BL was having significant financial problems. To the point that we now know that there is scheduled to be a $70 million bailout. Well, they don't call it bailout, but that's what it is. We now know that we owe outstanding money to CFE, where a good amount percentage of where energy come from. That's the Mexican electricity company. So these are not things that we have been kept abreast. And so we are then to believe that, well, since nobody is being held responsible or we are told, okay, these are the individuals who did not perform, that has created a utility company having serious financial challenges in a whole. But there is no listing of failures or decisions or those who have been in charge to say, well, these people were not up to performing. You know, it's like it's easy when you have a football team, you got a basketball team, and then go on and get blew out. You know who the players are, you know who the coach are, you know okay, well, we have to hold them accountable. So there's no accountability. It's as if though, well, if we look on it, if we listen to them, the reason why the company have financial difficulty will only one set of people to finger the point on that the consumers know they pay enough. So there's no performance issue with the way it has been managed, administrated, and has been led, and the performance of the political directorate and the decisions they've been, and all of that. That there's no fault there. The only problem we hear about the Duncy meters, and of course consumers not paying, how they pay. And so that have nothing to do with anybody that has led or is leading, or none of that. No accountability. But again, you have to rely on trust. You want us to have trust. Because at the end of the day, yes, I know I've been in the talk show business for over a quarter century. I know generally people complain about utilities. I know generally people don't like their utility bills. Of course, who does? Who would? And generally, when we see something jump up, we always believe something gone wrong, because we are never going to say, well, look around and see if maybe that's we fault. Yes, I understand. But I can tell you that while people complaining about the utility bills is something that is, say one constant, when you see one significant spike, people say, oh, hold up, that you can't be dismissive of that. That can't just happen from nowhere. Something has changed. And it's a process that people don't understand, and they can't trust, because it's not open for them to see. And so yes, we have one task and responsibility to try find individuals who are willing for having, we don't have one, where I say one horse in the race, to come and say, okay, what are your thoughts on what has been said? Because we can't just sit down and say, forgive me, I mean no disrespect to the people who were at the press conference yesterday telling us what they were telling us. The problem is that we can't just say, oh no, that we can't have that trust, can't have blind trust. We don't have past experiences which inspire us to have blind trust. It's the same issue that we were faced with BTF. This is the same issue we see time and time and time again. It is that we cannot give blind trust. That when we are being told something, it's not personal. We cannot, but we are in an environment where finding the information and finding the analysis that is going to be, that is, you could say, call the balls and strikes for an issue like this. It's not readily available, but it has to be done. Because the people can't just accept. I'm sure people have listened, and if you look on people's responses, people are generally negative to what has been said to them. Like, people are like, oh man, you need to call BSW. People are like, man, really, take with her. Those comments, those remarks that you to hear and that you to read, those are born out of distrust. Like, they can't believe on them. And you say, well, man, that is so unfair. No, the reality is that they have experienced over the years, over a long period of time, of being BS'd. It's such a consistent approach. Just BS your way out. And so even if you're not a BS way, past experiences are such that we would be stupid, we would be fools to just say, well, okay, we believe that starting now going forward, everything that is handed to us is going to be proper and well done and fair and transparent and real. It's not a luxury we can afford. But on this matter, we now have to try to figure out an environment where we have a shortage of people who are going to come and just, call balls and strikes with this matter. What people know is when you look on that bill, pretty, and they know that is also happening at the same time when everything, all those hours are pointing the same way when it comes to costs. All the hours are pointing up. From common food items to, we now know what's going on with the bus association where they're facing their financial challenges. But I do have to break. I have a guest. I guess that you guys are familiar with him in WB space, but we've not heard from him for a long time. We're going to have Irvin Paris in the house via Zoom, linking with us out of abroad. He's been abroad, but technology is going to put him here with us. We're going to talk a bit of economy and finance and money and all of that great important stuff after we come back from 2 Cents Calm and our first break of the morning. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. We'll be right back.
Watching WB, this is XTV. Big respect to our sponsors, 4 Point Security. Are we going around asking people if they know what day is Martin's Fest? Let's go find out the people here to say, what day is Martin's Fest?
This day.
What day is Martin's Fest?
6th of September.
The what?
6th of September.
Who tell her that? Say question day. What day is Martin's Fest?
August. What day? The 29th.
To say question a day. What day is Martin's Fest?
6th of September. The 6th of September.
You're sure? You're sure? You have to be sure.
The 6th of September.
What day is Martin's Fest?
Martin Luther.
What day is Martin's Fest? Say Martin's Fest.
I don't know.
Say question of the day. What day is Martin's Fest?
Every great job starts at Brothers Habet with the best supplies and the right support, including free delivery on site, so you can focus on the job. Brothers Habet, working with contractors since 1983.
Altoona is one of the most visited Mayan city up until lately. The adjacent communities have collaborated together to see how they can get a space here that the wood carvers could actually market and sell their product. Not having the POS machine in the past, we have lost a lot of sales. Atlantic Bank helped supported our business, giving us the opportunity to get the POS machine. Now with the POS machine, we are able to do more sales, and that will, also bring more, finance to our families.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
Connection isn't something you switch on. It's something you build together.
Connected through culture.
Culture isn't preserved in silence. It's kept alive through participation.
Connected through education.
Education doesn't always look like a classroom. Sometimes it looks like someone taking the time to teach and someone else choosing to learn.
Connected through sports.
Before the wins, before the applause, there's belonging. Here, young people learn more than how to play. They learn how to stand together.
Connected through community.
Community isn't a campaign, it's showing up. Not once, but every time it matters.
Connected through you.
Behind every connection is a person who cares. People who listen. People who stay. We don't just connect services, we connect you to your world.
Connected through every chapter.
Smart, bringing people together.
With the launch of this website, the magistracy reaffirms its commitment to making justice more accessible, transparent, and something that looks very familiar to everyone who comes before the court.
For a person facing criminal proceedings, the website provides information on how the criminal process works, how to apply for bail, and how to appeal a decision. For someone who needs to access the family court, information about the services provided, together with the relevant forms and guidance, can now be found in one accessible location. Similarly, information on how civil claims are brought in the magistrate court is available on the website. These may seem like simple things, but they are not insignificant. For the ordinary citizen, knowing where to go, what form to complete, what procedure to follow, and what to expect can make the difference between feeling completely lost in the justice system and feeling empowered to navigate it. This website places important information and documents within reach of every citizen with access to the internet.
And our goal is really to build public confidence. The launch is supposed to, stimulate that so that the public can go online, click the link, play around with the website, get familiar with it. Also, we would definitely want the Bar Association and other key stakeholders, the lawyers, to promote the use of this website, and also the court staff.
We are often the face of justice that the ordinary Belizean is more likely to meet. That is not a burden we resent. It is a responsibility that we embrace. If we are, for so many, the only door into the justice system, then we owe it to them to make that door easier to open.
As a plumber for 25 years, I believe in quality, and that's why I shop for all my plumbing supplies at Benny's. Cheaper PVC pipes and fittings may save a little today, but leaks can cost much more tomorrow. And that's why I shop at Benny's, because quality is savings.
Quality is savings at Benny's. Best for you and best for me. At Benny's, it's the quality. Benny's, quality and savings.
Catu's Trucking is the one place that can handle all your concrete mix needs. 50-pound sandbags, white sand, sand and gravel, river sand, black dirt, clay and landfill, washed white sand, concrete mix and limestone. We also do land clearing, road construction, and excavation. For all your building and home projects, visit us at mile 14 on the Philip Golson Highway. Call or WhatsApp at 673-1118, 671-9199, or 661-5863. We're open Mondays to Saturdays. Our prices are so good you can't get a better deal anywhere. Catu's Trucking, where we do things right.
You're up against some tough challenges, but not all heavy-duty lubricants can handle the pressure. Until now, introducing Ridgeline Lubricants, a homegrown solution engineered right here to solve the hurdles you face every day. Backed by experts who understand the ups and downs of where you're operating and what's at stake. Specially formulated to protect your equipment so you can push past grueling hours, heavy loads, and harsh conditions to reach for greater productivity. Ridgeline Lubricants. Long live your equipment.
All right, welcome back to the WB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. Mose Hyde on duty hosting on Creme Radio and on XTV. right up until 9 o'clock. Telephone number 280-5848. We have a guest, not in studio, but via Zoom. Mic check, mic check. Irvin Perez, Legacy Fund CEO, financial economic expert.
Hey, good morning, Mose. Good morning, Belize, and it's good to be on the show. Yeah.
How is it going?
How are you doing? Good. I mean, you can't complain, right? We are, I would say, for a show, we're entering, and this is the globe and little Belize, the little Joe, we're entering a new age, this AI, robotics age. And so it's going to bring tremendous change globally and at home. And so we're going to have to prepare ourselves for all of this while we're still dealing with legacies of the past that we haven't really adjusted or made some adjustments to.
So for those who might not be familiar with our relationship, while there is genuine mutual respect, we do not share ideological alignment. Which is cool.
Unfortunately, Mose, unfortunately.
Which is cool. And so let me just, before we enter the conversation, say that the views expressed by my dear brethren, Irvin Perez, do not necessarily reflect the views of the host or this program.
It would have been best if it would have, right?
Yeah, but let me just quickly, we don't have enough time, and we have not, I've not heard from you, not even off air, for a long time, and much less on air. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts, and this space is for listeners and viewers to hear different perspectives for sure. This is not I'm not a fan of dogma. So let's look at this. I will ask you for your overview of. I'm sure while you've not been living here, you are up to date, and so just give me a quick overview of what you are looking at when you look at Belize's financial economic realities in 2026.
Yes. So Mose, Belize has a resilient economy. The economy grew based on SIB's June or first quarter report by 5.1%. So that's great. That's encouraging. But even from the social media, from SIB's own consumer confidence interval index, I should say, both household and business experience has been challenging. So we know inflation in June was 4.6% year over year. Increase in fuel and energy costs, consumer confidence remained weak by the index, it declined. And on the trade side, imports rose sharply, but exports fell. So the country's income would have said decline. So both things can be true, where Belize is growing, but many Belizean households and businesses are under pressure. So I think that's in a nutshell. And the question is whether as a country, as a people, this shock, which is not, it had appeared would have been mild and reduction, but seems like it's going to be much more elongated energy shock. It's whether we will be able to use it as an opportunity as a country to build more resilient people, resilient human capital, and a better economy. And we have to look at, I wasn't privy to the full press conference by the Minister of Energy, but we have to look at increasing the reliability of domestic energy. We really have to consider how we build our financial markets to take advantage of opportunities. So turn savings, the commercial banking system still has a large amount of excess liquidity, but excess savings sitting idle does not translate to a productive investment opportunity. We have to look at a national AI strategy, right? Because it is here that allows our workers, our people, to basically take the opportunities that AI present before they become, a road accident. based on automation that AI is going to create. So to me, the message is very straightforward that we have to get. We have to make these adjustments in the short term, like the government adjustment on the COPA and allowing kind of like a tier process where all the costs of energy is not immediately put on people's bills. But at the same time, we have to make the investments now, both in human capital, in energy and in infrastructure, and in our final markets, so that we can actually take opportunity of the change that is happening in the world. So I think that's a quick synopsis of what I'm seeing from here and what we're experiencing even here. So it's not that Belize is isolated, but being small, vulnerable economies, the shocks tend to be much harder. You know?
I spoke before you got on about trust and how important it is. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. And I don't know that the gap, the trust gap, can really be treated in a short-term period. So things will have to be done in an environment that features distrust as a significant factor. And that is the doing of people who have been making decisions and who have been at the helm. So that's just the reality. Now, I will throw certain things at you and hear how you see and what is your analysis of it. So what are your thoughts? Let me start off with something that is a current crisis, and we'll move down. I don't know how up to date you are on the situation with the bus owners. And again, they are collectively some of the frontline collateral damage of the global oil supply disruption and the way that we presently structure the cost of fuel at the fuel pump. They faced a situation where their price is controlled, and so consumers are not able, on our they have their own challenges, but public transport is such a critical thing. So they were able to an 11th hour settlement just before they were going to just stop providing the service on the road. They were able to get a commitment of 3-month subsidy. But the reality is, truth be told, the circumstances that dictated that agreement have not changed. The reality at the pump is still extremely unpleasant. Global oil supply is still severely gridlocked. And now we are back to the cliff's edge where the BBA is saying, man, we can't do this. You need to extend the subsidy agreement. What's your analysis of that situation?
It's more so a little bit of a complex situation, but fundamentally, public transportation in most countries are subsidized by taxpayers, simply because there are some benefits to the overall public good when less people put vehicles on the road and utilize their own vehicle to move. In Belize, it's part and parcel of work every single day. As you know, there's a lot of commuters on the road. So the government has to decide how it's going to subsidize. It's either going to subsidize passengers individually, or it has to subsidize the bus industry. So my view is very straightforward. There has to be a case for subsidy for the bus owners, because you want to encourage two things. One, you're controlling the price, right? So if you control the price of a good and the provider of that good is saying, hey, at that price, we are not sustainable, but we need to provide that service because it's a public good. It's a necessary condition. Then government has to bite that bullet and do the subsidy. Now, is the subsidy valuable enough in terms of is it being effectively used? All of those things would have to be determined. But I mean, it doesn't seem very complex to me that you have to subsidize that product because you're controlling the cost. Because in a market society where you and I disagree, right? You would say, let the market decide. So what would happen would be bus owners would adjust their price to make sure that they can stay in business and to generate some small profit for themselves. That would mean price would go up. And then the consumers, the passengers would have to bear that cost and then make decisions based on their own pockets. If that is not going to happen because the government is in the market putting a cap on what is considered a reasonable price, and the cost of the input for the providers of the service, as you and I described, the bus owners remain elevated and high, then government has to therefore create that subsidy for the bus owners so that they can continue to provide the service at the price you have told them they have to provide it at. So remember, that's a situation where you have created an environment where bus owners have to work at the price. Now, that to me is a short-term fix, right? The National Bus Company strategy and that was a good move, right? And the idea that we need to transition to green buses, right? To energy efficient buses, that has to take place even within the private sector, even with the non-participants in the national bus service. So in the short run, I see government subsidizing the price. In the long run, they have to create a structure of financial, and this is why I spoke about the financial markets. They have to provide a process by which those bus owners themselves can transition to more energy efficient green buses, right? Such that future energy or the price shocks are not going to be then subsidized by the government. So you have a short-term fix, which is at this point you're controlling the costs because you want to protect the riders' pockets, but then you're impacting the participants because they cannot adjust the price to reflect changes in input costs. So you have to subsidize on that side.
No, it's part and parcel of the greater adversity that the nation faces, and we are not alone. Even as I think you referenced the fact that you are in the United States of America and you know that the cost of living, inflation, energy costs, grocery costs in America is a major news story. So we are not unique. Late last week, the Prime Minister of the country says, listen, when it comes to cost of living and inflation, as a government, they are doing their best, and that, you know, there's just only so much they can do to deal with the cost of living. You referenced the SIB data on this, that consumer confidence is down. Again, I said yesterday in my show that the reality is that we have a dashboard where there are a lot of lights in red that we are faced with. The global, we've kind of gotten used to the conflict in the Middle East, but that doesn't mean that the impact of it, even while it's some worst case scenario aspects of it have not materialized, it doesn't mean that that situation is not a deep hemorrhage on global economy. In fact, I'm sure you're aware that even though it didn't receive a lot of headlines, the Japanese are basically been bailed out. The yen had to be bailed out. That's how catastrophic the gridlock in oil supply has been on them. So our cost of living issues, when you look at the measures that have been put in place, the responses, the full spectrum of remedies, if we can say a spectrum, I'm assuming that there's been a spectrum of remedies put in. What is your assessment? What is your grade? Where has it been strong and where has it been weak, and from your standpoint?
I think the government approach to trying to subsidize transportation costs is good, right? I have said if you're going to control costs for the providers of the service, then there has to be a subsidy somewhere. So either you would have provided the subsidy directly to the passengers meaning giving everybody a grant for travel, or you're going to do it to the provider, which is probably more efficient. They've also, it seems that there is a cost of power adjustment, this COPA, that has been implemented to try to stabilize the cash and the revenue flows for BEL, while at the same time minimize the impact of that COPA on households. Now, I noticed there's a lot of concerns about people's bills, like what those bills actually are, and that comes back to your term trust, right? If there's a lack of trust, policy leaders might make rational decisions, but then that trust is absent, so people don't trust what you're saying. All right. But from a point whereby the COPA doesn't fully reflect the cost that BL is incurring for energy, so some of that cost is being delayed for the household and the businesses. Okay, so that seems reasonable. There's this short-term adjustment that you're trying to get past. So I think a lot of the policies in the short term are adjustments and are okay. But as I said at the beginning, the big focus, both from the labor side, the unions, the business side, the chamber, and government, has to be what's our medium to long-term strategy to grow ourselves out of this scenario. So what are the things we're going to do from a policy, legislative perspective, and how fast can we do this without all of the bottlenecks? Because we've been hearing about this transition in terms of alternative energy sources, solar energy, batteries, Hyde just supposed to have been there to help us, etc., for a very long time, right? But we take so long to get to these things that the world changes very, very fast. And so speed at implementing that medium to long-term strategy has to be much more accelerated. And there has to be, I would want to argue, Mose, what the government needs, as you have mentioned, might be trust, right? And the union have kind of argued what they want to see to have trust, which is they want more of their people on those decision-making bodies. Central Bank of Belize, for example, where is the workers' representative on that body, right? Makes a lot of huge decisions, right? Where is the chamber's presence on that body, right? They talk about the SSB, they talked about BTL. They want to be represented such that these hard decisions which we have to make as a community, if you're part and parcel to that, then you know these are the choices we have to make, people. You know, there is no shortcuts. We have to take the pain, and that trust is a big thing that you're saying. So short-term adjustment moves, I will say perhaps maybe there are more efficient ways. I don't have all the government books. I am not seeing under the government skirts per se, so I can't see all the numbers they're trying to juggle with. I can see that they're trying to keep borrowing costs down or borrowing down. And so that if you watch the general public debt year over year, it has not really moved up, even though there's all of these challenges with regards to costs. And most countries, even the developed countries, their fiscal deficit have been blowing up, right? Because governments have been borrowing to try to subsidize these shocks. So it seems that our government is trying to be prudent on that side. That's good. But then what it means is that there has to be a lot more pain sharing. And if you're going to share a lot more pain, then you need trust to, as you say, to try to get that trust level up, such that all the participants can say, here, what this is what we're going to have to face, how we're going to split the costs across the different stakeholders in the economy, what pain we're going to bear. Because I'll tell you something very simple. One of the adjustment government has to make, and it has been delaying it for such a long time, and union members might be very upset, is that we need to move away from a non-contributory pension system, right? Government recurring expenditure, about 67% of that is paying pension and salaries and emoluments. So if government is paying about 70 cents on the dollar that it occurs on just that component, where will government, and when I talk about government, you're talking about people's money, right? So we're as a community, if we're spending 70 cents on our dollar on pension, salary, wages, where are you going to find the money for investment in human capital, in technology, in these things? it's going to be hard. It's just like 30 cents you're left with. So it means that like some of those major transformation modes that we're talking about, where you go from a non-contributory pension system, where if you're a public worker, you don't contribute towards your retirement, right? And the taxpayer contributes 100%. And then your benefits is defined prior. So there is no tax on those benefits, right? Those benefits continue to grow as more and more workers leave. So you have these real hard issues that has to be addressed. And, you know, we've been talking about that, Mose, even when we were there, right? 9-10 years ago. And now, you know, 10 years has passed and we're still here. And so no decision has been made, and again, trust, right? That has to be about trust, where individuals understand that for my grandkids, I want our future to be better. So I may need to make some sacrifice now so that my grandkids can have a better life. And that's all flowing into an age of AI and robotics. So it means that speed, and there is this great book, right? Speed of Trust, right? Speed can only happen when trust is reestablished. And so the government, I think, the measures that we're not talking about is what are the measures that government or leadership is going to do to try to build that trust very, very quickly, such that these important decisions that we have to make as a community, we can make, because they're going to be painful. If most of your life you haven't contributed towards a pension, and you decided, you know, I'm going to work in government service for more stability, lower pay, right? Because at the end of the day, will be able to retire at 55 and have a pension, a decent pension. That may have to change to, you know what, I'm going to have to contribute and I'm going to have to work until 60 or 65, such that I don't put a huge burden on my grandkids to try to finance my current consumption. So the long answer is, on the short term, I think they're making some adjustments. The big issue is the same one that you mentioned, trust, because you have to have some hard decisions to be made. And when you don't have that trust, it's hard to make those decisions with your other stakeholders because they just don't trust your numbers. They don't trust what you're saying. And then you end up deciding, well, we'll just kick the tin down the road and leave that there. But the way how the world is changing with AI and robotics, you don't have as much chance to do that anymore. There's going to be real pain to pay for delays.
All right, I got to take a break, Irvin, and when we come back, we're going to, I think, just to become a little bit to focus that response a bit towards the cost of living reality, because as you know, the cost of living challenges in the US has created a serious shift in what people are willing to really support, as you are cognizant of the fact that there's been tremendous success by political candidates in the US who are advocating for democratic socialism, which has created quite an alarm in America, being that it is the epicenter of free market, as they quote unquote say about themselves. I don't share that view, but anyway, that's the way that they project. And so the fact that it exists shows that people are not confident and are not comfortable with the remedies that have been put, or the fact that there's an absence of effective remedies. And here in Belize, what we are facing is that the cost of living issue is compounded by the fact that there is a level of, first of all, our tax system is primarily a consumption-based tax system. The bulk of it is consumption-based. So that immediately means that the global inflation is going to have an even more severe impact on what the everyday household is faced with. We have a tax on tax system on our fuel, where we have a layered tax that goes in on what you ultimately pay for fuel. And then in addition to that, we are an import country. So what the Americans are complaining about and are so miserable about is they are the top of the food chain. What small countries like Belize, which are essentially import dominated, we are not producing, is that we are taking the worst of this. And you are voicing concerns about what the AI and technology, but while those are real, let us not put that let's not ignore the consequences of climate change. Let us not ignore the consequences of an absolutely ill-advised war that has created a real, just crushing geopolitical, global economic quagmire. And I'm speaking about the situation as it presently exists between the US, Israel, and Iran. So these are huge challenges, and I'm looking at how are we responding here in Belize, because no people want to hear, well, we can't do nothing about that. You can go and look at remedies that have been put forward by countries around the world. People are mixing and matching the kind of remedies they want. So countries that you would not have suspected would have had, you would have said, would have created the kind of packages, like some of the packages that are available in Singapore, which their response to inflation. Like countries around the world are not just sitting down and say, well, we really do our best, we can't do nothing about it. Like there's a level of creativity. It's like you would often argue, we are content with not trying because we say, well, if we never tried, then we did not fail. So we have a fear of failing. So we don't want to say that we may try that and that never work. So I know that's a lot to put on you before we go to break and come back, but I just want to see if we can get your thoughts on, you know, what you think about the overall the tools that we can say specifically have been brought out to try to deal with this reality that we have, a painful reality, to be truthful. We take a break and come back.
Hello Belize, if you're looking for the perfect home air conditioner, then listen up. First, choose the right tonnage. Correct sizing means perfect cooling and much lower electricity bills. Now, look for efficiency. GREE uses AI-driven performance to optimize cooling and fight high energy costs. Lastly, don't just cool your air, clean it. Demand health-focused air treatment and smart connected features. Get the global leader in smart home comfort. Contact us today to find your perfect GREE AC.
So it started off like any other summer day in Belize. I decided to go down to Builders Hardware since I heard they had 25% off on summer outdoor products. I got a couple of items, a chair, a grill, a cooler, and I got carried away, but the prices were so good. But anyways, I might have gotten comfortable, maybe too comfortable. Then I saw the news, man, the hurricane season was not playing with me. But thank God Builders also had 25% off hurricane preparedness items as well. Flashlights, batteries, sealant, first aid kits, everything I need. And guess what? My grill survived.
Everything in that store.
When EMS hit, our survival rate was like 1%, 2%, 5%. I think if we got 10%, we were lucky. And we kept, like I mentioned earlier, we kept trials, and then we started to improve. And now, I must say that we are seeing much, much better. We are 50, 60, 70, 72% survivals with the ponds right now.
We are only using about 30% of the entire acreage that we have. We have plans to completely fill up all the ponds, so that automatically increases the production capacity for our farm in general, but all the farms in general also, because we do keep in touch as a growers association, and then we talk about what's their ramp up plan, and everybody is very hopeful of the industry growing back to its previous glory.
At one point there was 17 shrimp swamps, and over the period 11 closed down. But with Mr. Robbie interest, I can see that restoration coming every single day. Just around COVID, the production dropped to 1.02 million. And as we progress this year, we expect to reach at least 3 million pounds of shrimps in the country. And I hope that those that are investing in shrimps today will definitely see progress maybe 3 or 4 years from today.
Nando's Wholesale is your market leader in Belize's wholesale industry when it comes to high-quality products at the most reasonable and competitive prices. With over 40 years in the wholesale business, Nando's Wholesale embraces the partnership of the hotel industry in Belize by providing world-renowned brands in wines, seasonings, condiments, and cleaners in industrial sizes, as well as small and large kitchen appliances and equipment. Nando's also takes pride in providing one of the quietest and most durable air conditioning systems in Belize with technical support and spare parts. Nando's Wholesale. Professional, reliable, effective, and prompt. Nando's Wholesale always delivers. Visit us at www.nandos.bz or send an email to nandos@nandos.bz. Or, even better yet, give us a call today at 222-500 or 280-8080 to speak to one of our sales representatives today.
It was rainy, muddy, playing in a whole heap of mud.
We actually started working out of an apartment with about 6 of us. It was only 9 of us.
About 15 of us, not sure where we were heading.
I came from Cancun, Mexico for an interview and I didn't go back.
First time working a big girl job. And if you didn't know, you had to figure it out. I didn't know anything about plumbing, so I had to study YouTube.
We won the bid.
I definitely have to ask your boss to give you a raise. I plan on retiring here. 8:39 in the night, I'm still picking up the phone and each layer matters, guys.
I want to see or hear people say that Design Depot is a family.
Design Depot to me is like a family.
And we all combine to make this one beautiful Sunday dinner. I don't know who might be the salad, but
1, 2, 3.
Never stop.
The success of my business means a lot to my family, especially my brother, because I'm continuing his legacy, making butterfly art collages. It was very hard for me to receive payments. I had to go directly to meet the person I'm purchasing from and who I'm selling to receive payment. Because I opened my business account with Atlantic Bank, now I can make and receive payments online, and this has made my job much easier.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together. Have a vision? We've got what you need. From idea to install, Brothers Habet. All your building needs under one roof.
Stay connected in the USA for as low as $10. With Smart Roaming Data Pass, staying connected is simple and affordable. Get the data you need starting at 1,000 megabytes to stay connected to larger plans that keep you online while you travel across the USA. So you can message, browse, video call, and navigate wherever you go. No SIM swap, no bill shock. Just simple, affordable pricing. Activate easily by dialing *100# using the Smart app or online. Smart Roaming Data Pass. Staying connected the smart way. Smart, bringing people together.
Amandala is now online. You can now access Amandala's midweek and weekend issues online by logging on to our website at amandala.com.bz/news and joining our membership portal today. There's 5 easy steps to get unlimited access to weekly e-paper, archive publications, and a host of other exclusive contents. Number 1, go to Amandala's website. Number 2, navigate to subscribed areas. Number 3, choose a membership level. Number 4, check out using our secured portal. Number 5, log into the members only section. Telephone numbers 501-280-4703 or 202-4477. Fax us at 501-222-4702, or you could email at amandalapress@yahoo.com or amandalapress@gmail.com. Amandala, all power to the people.
All right, welcome back to the WB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. Mose Hyde hosting on this Tuesday morning, the 25th of August 2026, here on Creme Radio and on XTV. This morning we have been joined by economist, finance consultant, CEO of Legacy Fund, Irvin Perez. We've been talking a lot about just the broad economic picture, policy, costs of living, inflation, and threats. And the man seems to be fixated with AI. But before we get to AI, I kind of, going into the break, put to him a more specific cost of living assessment of what has been done and what are the probabilities, what are the possibilities for more to be done. I'm not hearing you, Irvin. Yeah. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So specific one, as you mentioned, the general sales tax GST, that can be lowered, right? So the GST is 12.5%. The government could immediately lower GST 2.5% to 3% to bring it below 10%. So that provides an immediate relief in terms of price level.
But
now it has to be sure.
But then the government says,
I can't hear you.
But then the government, are you hearing me now?
Yeah.
But then the government says, if we lower GST, then we have less money, and then we can't do what we have to do. So that's their conundrum. That's the way they describe as.
Remember, I mentioned that the government has taken a conservative approach in terms of debt levels, and so that has remained relatively flat. And the government Belize's debt to GDP is about 80%, 80 to 83%, which is good. But we're talking about emergency circumstances where you're trying to make adjustments, right? So, and you asked me, and let me be very clear, I'm speaking here not on for legacy, I'm speaking on my own personal view. So government is going to reduce cost of living if it reduces the GST 12.5% right now. If it drops it by 3%, that's an immediate reduction in cost of living for consumers. It has to obviously monitor it so that that cost is passed on to consumers, right? So that's an immediate flip to consumers. It's not a, inflation went up by 4.6%. So if you reduce GST by 3%, maybe you have it reduces the impact of inflation on household. And you made it very clear, right? That's one, and you're right. That's one of the tax that you can't get away from. And it hits, it's a what we call a regressive tax system, right? So it hits the poor much harder than it hits different classes of the income level. So that's the first thing. The second thing, Mose, I see if you watch recent bank quarterly reports issued by the central bank, the amount of money banks are making on non-interest income, which means fees, is excessive. It is amazing. I mean, I was looking at it and I was seeing, like, for the first time, banks are making more money. Some banks are making more money from non-interest fees than from interest income, which is the traditional role of banks, right? I borrow your money and I relend it at a higher price, and that spread, the difference between what I the cost of loan and what I pay.
So they are making
is
more money on the little transaction fees that they charge you?
Correct. So that's huge and excessive. So I know central bank has been trying to push back on that. So central bank has to, and acting with government, I think they have to significantly reduce and cap those fees on all the banking sector. And I've been talking to, my workers, people that I work with, and they're saying, oh my God, it is extremely expensive to go to the ATM. It's extremely expensive to withdraw money. Banks are charging customers for just having accounts, right? And imagine if you're a hard worker making about $200 a week and the bank is charging you $5 or $10 on your account just to have the account. That's a lot of money for you, for that individual. And so there is a payment system in which central bank has created and built, in which all banks have tapped into or are connected with. And they have to pay the central bank a very marginal fee for the use of that service. I think central bank needs to cap what they're charging the average folks for their accounts for those fees. Again, that would create an immediate relief. I would want to say they should roll back those fees at this point to zero, right? And banks have to become more efficient at making money from their traditional business, which is lending. That's how you make money, right? First of all, banks are charging on average over the last 10 years somewhere like less than 1% on savings. Less than 1%, which it's about 80 basis points right now. So basically they have free money, right, which they're lending, and the spread is like 8.5%. So that means that they're basically holding on to free money, which is losing value because of inflation, and they're lending. So that again would be an immediate relief for individuals if those rates, those fees are rolled back and capped and declared. And so I think reduction in GST, the rolling back on the financial sector interest rates, on their non-banking, those non-interest fees that the banks are earning, it's ridiculous, right? That has to be adjusted. So those are two adjustments. The subsidy on the public transportation has to be maintained, but it should be transparent. Government should declare this is the amount we're subsidizing the bus service at. This is the landed price of fuel or diesel for them. This is our subsidy, and those are adjusted as they were doing on a 90-day basis, looking at it to see where that adjustment comes in. But that helps. So those are, as you asked for, 3 specific actions that the government can do. Now, remember, Belize is not Singapore. All right, Singapore, a lot of these countries that are being able to make very innovative adjustments is because they are very, very productive economies, right? They're punching way above their belt. They run surpluses, right? They're highly innovative. So what happens is that they have the buffers to be able to say we can make bigger and bigger adjustments. This does not negate that we need to be as innovative or even more innovative because we have less. But I'm just saying that we have to take into consideration that, and this is what all Belizeans have to do. Whenever government is subsidizing something, it is the community, right, that is subsidizing that product or that service. Government is only an agent to some extent of the community. So at the end of the day, it's taxpayers' money that you're using to subsidize, right, the bus service. But those 3 things, and government might say, well, we're going to lose money on the GST. Yes, but it's a direct relief to households and businesses, and they may have to borrow a little bit more, whatever is deduction. Maybe there might be even, it's hard to tell the immediate impact because it might result in even more consumption. So you might end up with more revenues from GST than less. So those are some of the intricate things. If you reduce a cost, right, sometimes when you reduce costs, you have more purchase. So the net effect is actually increasing revenues. So those things are very specific things that government could enact right now.
When we spoke yesterday, you mentioned that there has not been enough public conversation about the changes that have been made when it comes to securities, and that it's a closed conversation, and only a set of elites are participating in the potential. Can you, for the benefit of our listeners and viewers, explain what has changed and why it's important for everybody, for the general public, to have an understanding of what potential is there for them?
Very good. So remember, we spoke about Singapore, right? And innovation and productivity and the ability to have these surpluses. So what generates the ability to be more productive? It's the ability to invest. And the ability to invest is based on their financial markets, what that market allows you to do. Belize still has a very bank-dominated financial system, and those systems were set up most by the colonials, right? And all the colonials needed you to do was to consume, right? So we were primarily consumers, right, and workers. And for consumers, you just need them to be able to borrow personal loans because you want them to consume, buy cars, buy food, buy vacations, etc. You're not looking at colonials as investors, as owners of the capital, right? As owners of production. And to have ownership of production, you need capital markets. You need patient money. You need the ability to be able to take risk, right? Now, that's what a securities market should do. Right, a securities market should be able to allocate some of that excess savings into more productive investments. Now, note, banks by their nature, commercial banks by their nature, should be very risk averse, because if you put your money in a bank, you expect that if you come back tomorrow, that bank will be able to give you back your money plus whatever interest you have earned. If you are a person that is willing to take on more risk and say, you know what, I know John Brown has this great project. He's a great innovator. He's making, these baskets or bags, and he's doing these wonderful sales. I've seen his numbers, and he's making great money, but he needs more capital so he can grow faster. And I would be prepared to invest and take on some risk with the knowledge that John Brown business might completely fail and I get zero. But it's also very likely that John Brown might be extremely successful and my dollar compounds to $2 or $3 or $4. So I become wealthy while John Brown becomes wealthier. That market is very important. But we've created a market in Belize, a securities market that is more outward focused, outward looking than inward looking, right? And if you have it outward looking, you're not going to be focusing on building that domestic energy. And there are so many young, innovative developers in Belize. I've seen it all the time. They're on TikTok. They're all over Mose. My staff always shares with me all the stuff that is happening. But what is lacking, they don't have a financial engine for their idea, right? They don't have something to take that idea that they're doing and then capitalize it. And that is what is needed when you are a country that needs to change trade deficit, which is what we have to a trade surplus, right? You need that innovation, you need that engine. And so even when excess liquidity in our banking system in March of 2025 reached $1 billion, most billion excess money, just sitting idle in the banking system, right? At $1 billion. And you're there, you're in the media, you're within the small, medium enterprises. You know a lot of innovators and investors, and I guarantee you one of the things that they talk about is difficulty of accessing money to grow their ideas. So while Jamaica, for example, has spent a lot of focus on how do we take our capital market and impact micro, small, medium enterprise, how do we make it for them so that they can take their ideas and grow, Belize has gone into a completely different direction. And Jamaica has the most diversified capital market. And they're constantly looking at how do we create more inclusion. Because they have a knowledge that they want Jamaicans to become wealthy and better off, right? We seem to be focused on let's get the international people better off. And that is a challenge. That has to be repositioned. And so the banks have a purpose. The credit unions have a purpose, right? They have a purpose for conservative savings. You need your emergency money. but they cannot fuel primarily the kind of growth that a country like Belize need to get ahead, right? And so while we, it's great we mentioned Singapore. Singapore has made those kind of choices, right? Like, we Singaporeans know we believe in ourselves, we can compete. So now we need to create the environment that gives us the best opportunity to compete. And that's not where we are. And so unfortunately, while we push and prod the banks to do all kind of stuff, really and truly, we started the process with the securities market, which was 2021. Enforcement came in 2024. And then we have the Municipal Securities Act now. But we need to really ramp up the focus and the branding, the marketing domestically to our domestic entrepreneurs of this market. That's not happening. Our people are traveling to Europe, are traveling to Asia, are traveling to South America, having conversations. They're not having that conversation at home, right? And they're not moving around as much and focusing on how do we get small, medium enterprise to utilize this platform such that they can grow? Because that's where a lot of the innovation is happening, right? With individuals having creative ideas. And you mentioned the AI, because why I mentioned that is what AI does now to an innovative creator is ramp up their productivity 10, 20 times, right? So what would have probably been a challenge for them a couple years ago, now with capital and technology, they can do so much better. And so what we need is the capital. What we need is that additional layer there that would help kind of springboard those ideas from not just working your business, in front of a small bunch of shops, but exporting those businesses abroad, because that generates the forex or the foreign exchange that we would need to be able to buy some of the other goods that we want. So I think that's an important step that was made by the government, but now we need to see it through, right? We need to get ahead. And again, the trust, right, we spoke about. Who are the union representative on the FSC board? Do we have union reps? Do we have labor on that board? Do they have an insight? Do we have social partners like the NGOs on that board? Do they have an insight as to what they would want to see happening in the domestic security space? They're not there, so these things are happening in silos, right? And so they're not making the impact that they're supposed to be. And then you'll have multilaterals come and say, well, you know what, we always say small economies not really benefit from these things. Of course, because the small economies don't build them the right way, right? They build them the way that the colonials want you to build it, which doesn't help you, right? Because again, we're building the market for outsiders. You get me? You're building it for your people outside of your country. And the Jamaicans were the only smart ones in the Caribbean. But Jamaicans, how they are, right? They were the only ones who said, we're building this for us, our thing. Now, if it benefits people from outside, great. But we're the ones that want to benefit from this. And that's a focus that we need to get, that we want to be the beneficiaries of the things that we're doing. We're not doing it just for the lawyers and the accountants, right? This is not a lawyer and accountant business to make money. This is a transformation of our financial market so we can lift Belizeans. And Belizeans with talent and innovation can get the financing and the support to transform their community. That's what it's really about. It's not about the accountants and the lawyers making a lot of money from foreigners trying to shield their illicit activities. And I'm not saying that's where we're going. But when you're competing in that international space against Cayman and Bahamas and the Isles, which have much more sophisticated jurisdiction, you're going to get the players that can't play in those markets, right? And that's not going to be beneficial for us.
I guess scoundrels.
I didn't use that word, Mose.
I'll take a break, and then when we come back in the last segment and the time we have after that, you can just give me a more long-term outlook. You could probably go up on a little bit more on your fascination with AI, which I don't share. I think it's an insanity, but we'll have that debate there.
Mose, you can't be on that side of the fence in this one, Mose.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the future.
I find the present development of AI to be one of the most irresponsible chapters of human history. But we now have that debate this morning. We'll take a break and come back.
I'm a licensed electrician for 15 years. Safety is always an electrician number one priority. I shop at Benny's. Benny's give me high quality, durable material. Cheaper doesn't mean safety. Cheaper means danger. When I think about safety, I think about Benny's. Remember, at Benny's, quality is saving.
Savings at Benny's. Best for you and best for me. At Benny's, it's the quality. Benny's, quality and savings. See you at the store.
With the launch of this website, the magistracy reaffirms its commitment to making justice more accessible, transparent, and something that looks very familiar to everyone who comes before the court.
For a person facing criminal proceedings, the website provides information on how the criminal process works, how to apply for bail, and how to appeal a decision. For someone who needs to access the family court, information about the services provided, together with the relevant forms and guidance, can now be found in one accessible location. Similarly, information on how civil claims are brought in the magistrate court is available on the website. These may seem like simple things, but they are not insignificant. For the ordinary citizen, knowing where to go, what form to complete, what procedure to follow, and what to expect can make the difference between feeling completely lost in the justice system and feeling empowered to navigate it. This website places important information and documents within reach of every citizen with access to the internet.
And our goal is really to build public confidence. The launch is supposed to, stimulate that so that the public can go online, click the link, play around with the website, get familiar with it. Also, we would definitely want the Bar Association and other key stakeholders, the lawyers, to promote the use of this website, and also the court staff.
We are often the face of justice that the ordinary Belizean is more likely to meet. That is not a burden we resent. It is a responsibility that we embrace. If we are, for so many, the only door into the justice system, then we owe it to them to make that door easier to open.
I've always been fascinated with gemstones. It's all about taking nature's beauty and creating something uniquely beautiful. I've had inspiration from the Belize Blue Bull, the beaches, the jaguar. I've launched a new product called Co-Design with Deb, and Atlantic Bank's e-commerce system has opened the door to my international customers so I can receive payments so they can have their custom pieces shipped to them.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
Nando's Wholesale is your market leader in Belize's wholesale industry when it comes to high quality products at the most reasonable and competitive prices. With over 40 years in the wholesale business, Nando's Wholesale embraces the partnership of the hotel industry in Belize by providing world-renowned brands in wines, seasonings, condiments, and cleaners in industrial sizes, as well as small and large kitchen appliances and equipment. Nando's also takes pride in providing one of the quietest and most durable air conditioning systems in Belize with technical support and spare parts. Nando's Wholesale. Professional, reliable, effective, and prompt. Nando's Wholesale always delivers. Visit us at www.nandos.bz or send an email to nandos@nandos.bz. Or, even better yet, give us a call today at 222-500 or 280-8080 to speak to one of our sales representatives today.
So it started off like any other summer day in Belize. I decided to go down to Builders Hardware since I hear they had 25% off on summer outdoor products. I got a couple of items, a chair, a grill, a cooler, and I got carried away, but the prices were so good. But anyways, I might have gotten comfortable, maybe too comfortable. Then I saw the news, man, the hurricane season was not playing with me. But thank God Builders also had 25% off hurricane preparedness items as well. Flashlights, batteries, sealant, first aid kits, everything I need. And guess what? My grill survived.
Whether you are a busy person or stuck in traffic or having an adverse or very demanding circumstance, tension builds up, causing you to be stressed out. Stress attacks everyone, anytime, any age. And stress is a killer. Palm City? It's best to be alive than dead. So visit Freetown Drugstore to get options to relieve stress and to relax your mind.
Yes, sir. What can I do for you today?
I'm so stressed out.
Okay, I'm saying I help you right now. When I this daily, for 10 days, I am good after that, okay?
Okay.
Freetown Drugstore, 28 Freetown Road, where you are better off alive than dead. Freetown Drugstore, telephone 223-2876.
Hello Belize, if you're looking for the perfect home air conditioner, then listen up. First, choose the right tonnage. Correct sizing means perfect cooling and much lower electricity bills. Now, look for efficiency. GREE uses AI-driven performance to optimize cooling and fight high energy costs. Lastly, don't just cool your air. Clean it. Demand health-focused air treatment and smart connected features. Get the global leader in smart home comfort. Contact us today to find your perfect GREE AC.
All right, welcome back to the WUB, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. It's a conversation, not a presentation. This morning it has been a special guest on the show, and it's not possible, at least with the present design, that we could take calls that you could hear. I presently have to hear you in my ear, and our phone is got a, yeah, I don't get into all of that. We don't, obviously the time, we don't really touch a lot of things where I want to touch, but just a little bit on the long term. Irvin, as I mentioned before we went to break, for those who are just joining us, we have Irvin Paris here, not in his capacity as the CEO of Legacy Fund, here as Irvin Paris, Belizean, living abroad, the diaspora, talking to us about
always at home, Mose, in spirit. Always at home in spirit, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the same for most of our diaspora brothers and sisters.
Right.
Yeah.
So in terms of the future outlook, the country can continue to grow. I mean, the issues that are pushing growth in terms of tourism and so forth are there. We're definitely facing a lot of headwinds. Energy is a huge headwind, high energy prices, energy shocks, because as you mentioned, it trickles through every facet of the Belizean economy, from transportation to food production to agro sector. And we're having challenges in the fertilizer prices and fertilizer availability as well. So every sector of our economy is going to be impacted by that headwind.
We've had several carriers pull out, which starting to contract their routes because of jet fuel costs and other realities. Climate change issue combined with the carriers reduction, sargassum hitting our prime areas, and no doubt having putting a bit of drag on ultimately our visitor numbers. I mean, these are all arrows pointing in the wrong direction.
So we need to then take this as an opportunity to how do we pivot and start with focusing on the things that will. So we mentioned in the short term what some of the adjustments government has done, and you and I have said, hey, well, I have said, not you, I don't want to put you on the spot, reduce the GST, right? That's an adjustment right there. And we have spoken about
that one that surprised me.
the
I have
banking
to say
fees.
that one that surprised me. Coming from there are two things which have surprised me. I love that. It shows that you're not static. You're not a stagnant mind. You are.
I've never been a fan of the GST Mose, but anyhow.
No. But
that's.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah. So those are two things we spoke about, and that government can implement. So from the central bank, they can roll back those fees and maybe put a cap. If the banks want to say, well, we have to pay the central bank for the use of the ACH, well, yeah, you have to pay. So maybe a slight markup over what you pay on those. So those are two things short term. But the trust to pass these headwinds, we need to start to think about human capital investment. How we're going to reskill our youths and our young people. We need to think about our financial markets. How do we actually take ownership of our securities market, of our embryonic domestic market? Plus, how do we bring the unions, the social partners on board with the changes that we have to make as a community? And I've said, you have the central bank there where they should be on the board, where they should appoint directors on that board, because we're a small society, so that trust is huge. But that also means, Mose, that trust can be easily built. When you're a country of 400,000 people, it's easier to build trust than if you're a country of 300 million people, with a lot of differences, you understand? So Belize actually has an advantage there. So we talk about placing those social partners, labor partners on the banks at the central bank board, on the FSC board, on all those boards that make huge decisions in regards to the country's economy. And those could be medium term, I would say short term, but they can be more medium term. You might have to pass legislation to get those done. If we do some of those right things, Mose, then we can start thinking and planning. How do we transition? The truth is, we have to transition our economy to a green economy, right? That helps deal with the climate change issue. And one of the things I noted government did, and I don't know if they marketed it, but I believe that there's a zero import duty on electric vehicles, right? So are there other policies that they can do to incentivize Belizeans from, instead of buying crash cars, right, and fixing those crash cars, buying electric vehicles? Now, do we then therefore need to upscale and train our young mechanics in terms of dealing with electric vehicles as opposed to, fossil fuel vehicles? So there is a lot of conversation that we have to have to get there. But in the short term, we can continue to grow the challenge.
It's one of a few areas of agreement and common ground we can stand on. And I love that you're finishing off your presentation this morning, emphasizing human capital and human resource development as being the apex of our priorities. Now, the reality there now is this. This is August, the end of August. This is back to school time. And again, we are faced with, we've spent a lot of money on education in the annual budget. Takes up a lot of it. We speak of trying to make education free and accessible. And so we end up with maybe tuition is covered. But then the schools, because of their financial reality, says, but I still have huge costs. You might be taking care of tuition, but I have huge costs, so I have to close the gap. So then the parent gets a bill that features all manners of innovative fees, which then for many high schools, it goes up over $1,000. So in 2026, we are still having parents making decisions about whether or not they're going to keep a child in school based on how much money it takes for them to just stay in high school. So finance still is a major factor for parents because of the cost of it. Put that along with the fact that the NTU has now said, listen, government, this is the last period that our teachers are going to go into their pockets to essentially deal with classroom expenditure, the supplies that are needed for the classroom, because that's been going on for years. I'm saying we need to do something about that. So yes, if the human capital is number one, development of the human capital is how we make ourselves, how we deal with how we future-proof ourselves from all manners inclement things that are in the forecast. The fact that the matter is that on the ground, it not work, it really not work.
Mose, again, another radical view along with your socialist leaning. I would say government, absolutely, both parties have to move towards free public education. You got to go there. I mean, I think high school education now is minimum for human capital development. And you can think about also vocational technical education being free. Now, how do we pay for that? I would want to propose, they like to call them penny taxes here in the US. Maybe a penny is not good enough, but we may need to, and I saw the push from ministry, I'm not sure if it was Ministry of Tourism, about increasing the hotel tax, from to I think 2.5%, and then that money would be going back into tourism. I'm not big in terms of the hotel tax specifically, but what they could have is what we call a penny tax, a 5 cents, 10 cents US tax that people don't really feel, right? That's collected and created in what we call a human development fund. I think a lot more of the monies that we're earning from the tourism sector and from these sectors should not continually be fully reinvested in tourism, but reinvested in human capital development. Because at the end of the day, a tourist experience is as good as the experience he or she has when they interact with a Belizean, right? Or interact with some service provider. So the higher the quality of that experience modes, the more memorable that any experience you're going to get. So how do we fund that public education at the vocational and secondary schools, with this, let's call it a penny tax in US dollars on every passenger that ventures in Belize port, whether it's from the cruise ships or from the airplanes or from the boaters. And that has to be something that is countable and transparent, meaning you see the money, you see the flows in this HDF fund, and those HDF fund has a trustee, social partners, labor, chamber, government representative, monitoring those monies on a quarterly basis. And that flows into helping subsidize the public education at the secondary and innovative level. Government may still have to come up with additional expenditure on that, Mose, but that's a start. And that's a start to really, as you and I have agreed on, the real, and I've said this even to my team, the real resource that we have has always been our people, right? The real innovation, the real creativity is there. And if you're a poor country and a small country, you're going to get a bigger return on your investment if you invest in those people, right? You cannot imagine the creativity, intelligence, and wonder that an individual can create. But if you can give them the right set of skills, the right educational experience, and the right financial, you can be a small country like Singapore and punch way above your belt class.
And as you mentioned that, Irvin, and to tie it in with your fascination with AI, you are conscious of the fact that based on everything they are projecting, the emphasis or the importance of vocational aspects are now ascending. So our system, which has been predominantly colonial and has a lean towards developing clerical capacity, clerical skills, and having a preference for that, because then that's what the colonizer wanted. But ultimately, what we now know is that some of the professions that they look at and say, these professions, this skill set, this knowledge is going to be of a higher value and a higher priority going ahead. Your vocational things like plumbing, welding, carpentry, like these are things which we now have to stop to look. I feel even if a child is showing a tremendous capacity for science or maths, there is a need to ensure that each child is also developing vocational hands-on ability, like one lawyer have to know for well going forward for 2026 then. That's
well,
why
that might be a view you share. You and I can somewhat share, but I don't think everybody is cut out for using their hands as a primary skill set. I remember some very clumsy people, but they might do something like gardening, right? Most so you're right. So that should be a secondary. All of us should pick up these secondary hand skills or labor skills that have us back out using our hands as
I'm
opposed to
interested
just
in
our
welding,
minds.
even though I am not exactly, I don't consider myself to have good hands, but just as a matter, like I don't know already, like woodwork, I don't my thing, but maybe welding.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we definitely should invest definitely a lot more in vocational, and then we'll have to start thinking, how do we retain those individuals in country? Because those skill sets most are in high demand all over the world now, right? So as soon as you develop a lot of highly skilled vocational workers, they're going to be poached, right? People are going to ask them to come and work in developed countries where that is lacking. But I agree with you. I just want to say one thing on the AI, and from the great Albert Einstein, which one do you prefer more? He said creativity is greater than intelligence, and there's an intrinsic human creativity that AI hasn't replicated, and I don't think will ever replicate because it's very in the nature of being human and in human experiences, which an AI can never experience, right? And that is the kind of creative strength which has allowed us to create AI. And if we allow our older and young people to be creative, right, allow creativity, all I'm saying is that AI adds that productivity fillip to that creativity if it's used the right way. And so I think small countries like us, 400,000 people, now have the ability to really, really punch way above their weight class. If you have the right policies, we put the huge thing that you have mentioned there, trust, right? If we can get that trust factor in, then the speed of which we can transform our country goes way up, right? And increase our quality of life. So we're not on the same page in regards to some views, but I think we definitely share. Sure. You being an artist, you understand creativity, right? You just understand how it is.
But yeah, I hear you. I understand the point you're trying to make. I think it's as most of the AI companies do, they lead with the promise of solutions, and yes, I imagine that these systems, and they have been used and they are being used presently to create solutions. So my opposition to it is not on the basis of what it can do right or what it can accomplish, but what the danger and what its threats are, and the way that it's being developed and the concentration of power that it represents. But
absolutely agree.
We are going to close off here. I really enjoyed the conversation, and it's been a long time.
Yes,
I hope that our listeners and viewers, ultimately we not do this for try just bring out somebody where my song smart. We try create a conversation where people could have one new set of input rather than just the same old the same old arguments every day, the same old arguments which are dominated by people's party political preferences and leaning. We have to have conversation and ideas outside of that domination there, and then we have different ways of look. And even if you don't agree with somebody's outlook, like I'm sure you have somebody say no, like because we've been in this paralysis where, oh, you know what, if you reduce GST, well then what the government will have to spend, right? But you ever think about the fact that, well, is it possible that if you reduce GST you end up with the purchasing increase and the net loss to your gross tax, the net loss is not there, right? It's the gap is closed. Like you don't know how things like they have these GST holidays, right? They have these special week. They have 2 weekends, I think, or 3 weekends. Whereby they said are GST free, and people essentially, when they know that they come up, they're not going to spend until that come. That's the extent to which GST impacts people purchasing pattern, right? Like that, what a difference it makes. And I don't know what the numbers are. The government obviously does. They know ultimately what is the loss, the net loss to them on these weekends. They know how much increase in purchasing happens over the weekend, but we don't get those numbers, so we don't know. But I think it's gimmicky. I think it's totally gimmicky, right? It's politically cute, but insofar as substance and long impact, I'm not really into it. I don't rate it. No, I'm not saying that, you know, they can't count it as we try something. But when I hear the Prime Minister say, well, you know, what we could do, we try what we could do, like to say almost like, you know, inflation, just the unfortunate thing, but the out of our control. I feel like that is that's surrendering, and I don't think that you sign up for hold the steering wheel for you know, any kind of surrendering mode at all. We have to have innovation, like you often say. We have to have creative solutions. We have to try.
So, Mose, how wrong can you go by reducing the GST from 12.5% to say 9%? Let's just think about it. Will the country fly off the road? No. Basically, what you're doing is trying to provide a subsidy to every household that has been hit by about a 5% inflation increase, right? So their purchasing power has been reduced by about 5% across the board. And all you're doing is saying, okay, we're going to reduce our take on the sales tax on consumption by 3%. That goes directly to household. That will affect every single consumer immediately, right? Especially if you can monitor that decline. And that's something you can do. And if at the end of the day, there is some impact on your revenues, you can adjust. And I say this, and you've said it. Reason why we're poor is that we're afraid to innovate and fail. Poor people never, and I don't mean poor people as in poor, but people that are poor in assets and tools, fear innovation and fear to try moves. And one of the things that you and I know about entrepreneurs is failure and trial. You learn. Every time you try and you fail, you learn. You know, you fail, you learn. You fail, you learn, and you do that faster and faster and faster. You become very, very intelligent, right? And very, very smart. And a lot of the challenge with these poor, undeveloped countries is that there is just a failure and a fear to fail. And we don't know why, right? It's probably because of being slave mentality. You used to fail, you get killed, right? But we know that if we do a simple move like reduce GST, the country's still gonna survive. The sun will come up tomorrow. But what will happen is that Belizean households and firms and businesses that are not registered for GST are going to have that immediate relief at their dollar. You know, so that's important, and that's a solid move in what we call it an energy shock, right? This is not a usual circumstance. This is not a usual thing, right? This is something that you're doing to adjust to certain conditions that you and I agree, and the Prime Minister agree, we cannot control. We cannot control the energy prices that come to a small country like us, as how we are consuming it now, right? From gas and oil and so forth. But we can adjust. And then what we have to believe in is, Mose, that we're smart enough to make an adjustment and adjust again, right? And that's the important thing. You can adjust the GST and realize, hey, it's creating a little challenge here. Where can we go to recover the revenue that we've lost that will not impact the local purchasing power. That's what you have to do. And that's all intelligence and smarts, right? That's all about what it takes to take a country that's a small developing country and make that country a developed country. You have to innovate, you have to take risks, and you have to believe in your people, that your people can adjust and be smart at doing that.
Irvin, thanks very much for joining me this morning. Thank you for the time. We take a final break, we'll come back and wrap up.
Stay connected in the USA for as low as $10. With Smart Roaming Data Pass, staying connected is simple and affordable. Get the data you need starting at 1,000 megabytes to stay connected to larger plans that keep you online while you travel across the USA. So you can message, browse, video call, and navigate wherever you go. No SIM swap, no bill shock. Just simple, affordable pricing. Activate easily by dialing *100# using the Smart app or online. Smart Roaming Data Pass. Staying connected the smart way. Smart, bringing people together.
Nokche Adventure Park came about from the birth of COVID. Everything was on pause for tourism. So we decided, let's do something different. We got 10 bikes, 10 ATVs, and we were just doing ATV tours. Shortly after, we were approached by the cruise lines. We agreed to work with them, and from them, it just started growing. We set up the chocolate tour first, and then from there, we went into the culinary experience at the different Mayan cultures. We have the gift shop, the cooking class, the shaman, and the healing, and it just all came together. When you reach a certain point, you need investors, you need partners to come into your business. Atlantic Bank just make it easy. Even my 7-year-old could do it.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together. Every great job starts at Brothers Habet with the best supplies and the right support, including free delivery on site, so you can focus on the job. Brothers Habet, working with contractors since 1983.
All right, we got to leave the scene. We've actually gone way past our time, so almost 30 minutes after 9, in fact. Hope you guys have a great Tuesday. With health and strength, I come back tomorrow morning, 6:30, Wednesday morning, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. Thank you, Larry G at Creme Radio, and then at XTV WUB, Pat Cliff, and directing Harlan Wagner. As always, stand strong, stand firm. For now, we're gone!